Top-tier automobiles like hypercars, luxury saloons, and super SUVs command premium prices due to their exceptional design, performance, and substantial development costs. These 50 vehicles, crafted by renowned brands like Ferrari, Rolls-Royce, Hennessey, Koenigsegg, and Bugatti, rank among the most expensive cars available today. While they may require a significant investment, the experience they offer behind the wheel makes it all worthwhile. Cadillac Celestiq represents the pinnacle of technological advancement for the Detroit-based luxury automaker and is poised to lead their forthcoming electric vehicle lineup. More doesn't always equate to better. Consider the McLaren 765 LT, which stands as one of the most minimalist vehicles in this selection. Fisker doesn't see any reason why a sports car can't have 4 doors. Meet the Refinement, an open-top Grand Tourer that the Finnish marque hopes to release in the second half of 2025. The most absurd on this list has to be the Hercules 6x6. Not only does the cartoonish bruiser have 6 wheels, it's also the most powerful 6-wheeler currently by. Ferrari finally gave in and decided to build its first SUV. The Purosangue was a prancing horse through and through, with more in common with the brand's sports cars than its other super SUV peers. The DBS 770 Ultimate, which will also be the final version of this iteration of the model, is so much more than just a Grand Tourer. Leave it to Rolls-Royce to take the SUV to luxurious new heights. The Cullinan, named after the largest gem-quality diamond ever found, fits into British marques lineup better than you'd expect. All Ferraris are special, but if you care about convertibles, it's hard to beat the 812 GTS. The open-top take on the 812 Superfast is the storied automaker's first V12 Spider, with a front-engine configuration in a half-century. The British automaker unveiled its first EV, the Spectre. The thought of the brand putting out a car powered by one of its trademark V12s may seem sacrilegious to some, but the model has what it takes to win over the doubters. Rolls-Royce Ghost Black Badge. The full-size saloon is basically the platonic ideal of a Rolls, as much a joy to drive as it is to be driven in. The 8th generation Phantom is likely what pops into your head when you think of a Rolls-Royce. That's partly because the British marque has been using the name across a variety of models for nearly 100 years now, but also because the full-size saloon is about as grand as cars get these days. The brand's first plug-in hybrid, an all-wheel drive sports car, looks like it'll be one of the defining cars of its era. That's because the vehicle pairs a brash and angular design with next-level performance. The SF90XX Stradale, which is a more extreme version of number 38 on this list. The limited run variant, which is also available as a more expensive roadster, has a more aerodynamic body that creates loads more downforce and a reworked electronic system. Lamborghini Revuelto, an electrified model that can rocket from 0 to 60 miles per hour into 0.5 seconds and hit 217 miles per hour. The Rave Vuelto is the first series production hybrid raging bull. The limited run supercar, which has served as the basis for several high-performance variants, stands out among the company's lineup, thanks to a commanding, but still aerodynamic, design and potent twin-turbocharged 4.0-litre V8. UAE-based W Motors' second model, named after the monstrous wolf from Norse mythology, and sports an angular design that looks like something out of an old PlayStation game. The mid-rear mounted mill, which is mated to a Porsche-sourced 7-speed dual-clutch PDK transmission, can kick out 799 horses and 723 foot-pounds of twist. The Valor features a sculpted look that calls to mind the striking V8 Vantage from the 1970s and 80s, especially its window louvers. Under the hood you'll find a twin-turbocharged V12 that pumps out 715 horsepower and 555 foot-pounds of torque. Take a look at the Zinger to 1C, a curvaceous speed machine that can rocket from 0 to 60 miles per hour in under 2 seconds. There are a lot of supercars that have aircraft-inspired design flourishes, but the 21C has a straight-up bubble cockpit with tandem seats like a fighter jet. The UAE-based Mark has said its debut model, the 16, will raise the bar for all other high-performance vehicles. The company claims its supercar is the fastest in the world, able to reach a top speed of 364 miles per hour. Gordon Murray designed the McLaren F1, so he knows a thing or three about supercars. The T33's Cosworth-built V12 generates a sprightly 607 horses and 332 foot-pounds of torque. The battery-powered Carmen is for drivers who like their supercars as ridiculous as possible. The Mark's first model since the 1930s is an all-electric sports car with a retro-futurist design that looks unlike anything else currently on the road. The Gimera is the rare supercar that has room for the whole family. The Swedish Mark's latest model may only have 2 dihedral doors, but its cabin has a 2+2 seating setup, so the driver can bring 3 full-grown adults along for a ride. The Mark's 5th Ultimate Series model, the Elva, is inspired by the open-top race cars developed by Bruce McLaren in the 1960s. The limited-run model shares a 4-litre twin-turbocharged V8 and 7-speed seamless shift gearbox with the Senna that produces a hair-raising 804 horsepower. If you're going to name a car after Ayrton Senna, it's only natural that you release a track-only variant. The Senna GT is more aggressive than its road-going counterpart in every way. It sports an aggressive aero package with a large rear wing, allowing it to cut through even more ease than the standard version. Hennessey Performance wasn't content just tuning other brands' vehicles. In 2017, the Texas-based shop announced plans to design develop and build a high-performance sports car of its very own. The resulting Venom F5, named after the most powerful grade of Tornado, is exactly the kind of beast you'd expect from the storied tuner. It has a slick design that doesn't feel overly indebted to Italian supercars and is powered by the twin-turbocharged 6.6-litre Fury V8. Dew's Automobiles knows that breaking into the supercar market won't be easy. That's why the Australian startup is giving itself until 2025 to get its debut model, the all-electric Vian, just right. The coupe looks just as futuristic as the other battery-powered entries in the class, though its design is a tad more restrained. When you pay 7 figures for a car, you expect it to be capable of breathtaking feats. The 2-watt Aura most certainly meets those expectations. SSC North America has yet to top 300 miles per hour in independent testing, but it's come close. This ultra-exclusive version of the Continental GT is called the Batter. The Marks Mulliner bespoke unit plans to build just 18 examples of the vehicle by hand. The new model features a completely reworked body that's so much more athletic than the coupe it's based on. The real selling point, though, can be found under the hood. There lurks the latest and greatest iteration of the automaker's revered W12 engine. The Evija is at the heart of Lotus's attempt to revitalize its flagging brand. One look at the all-electric supercar and it's clear that the British marque are really going for it. The vehicle's carbon fiber body is marked by an aggressive front fascia, giant air channels, and an LED-lit rear end that looks like it belongs on a rocket ship. The biggest talking point is a quad-motor powertrain that generates a staggering 2011 horsepower. 2 years after production supposedly began, a single example has yet to be delivered. It probably won't come as much of a surprise that the most expensive series production Ferrari is something special. The Daytona SP3 is at once a celebration of the Italian marque's rich history and a preview of its exciting future. The company's latest Icona series model features a smooth flowing shape and clean lines. It's hands down one of the best looking cars currently on the market. Skeptical that supercars can survive the electric revolution? Well, just take a look at the Nevera. The Croatian EV doesn't just look like a supercar, it acts like one too. The Croatian EV doesn't just look like a supercar, it acts like one too. And has earned it breathless review since making its debut in 2021. Other supercar makers may be looking into what electric powertrains can do for them, but not Pagani. In fact, the company's latest model, the Utopia, is a bit of a throwback. The vehicle will still turn heads, but it features the marque's most streamlined design yet, lacking some of the extraneous bells and whistles of its predecessors. The Utopia was also designed to deliver the company's most driver-centric ride yet. Do you find yourself wishing the Rimac Nevera looked just a tad less muscular? May we point you in the direction of the Pininfarina Battista, The Italian marque's electric supercar shares an electric architecture with the Nevera, but it has a sleek style all its own. That doesn't mean it's a slouch though. Its 4-motor powertrain also pumps out 1,900 horsepower, meaning it's capable of impressive performance feats. Looking for the closest thing to a contemporary McLaren F1? It just might be Gordon Murray's latest supercar, the T50. The debut release from the legendary designer's eponymous marque feels like a spiritual successor to the revered F1. It sports a slick look that's more elegant than outlandish. The sculpted design, which includes a downforce maximizing rear fan, also makes it one of the most aerodynamic road cars of all time. Sure, Mercedes-AMG know how to make a good sports car, but what about a hypercar? The one suggests they've got that covered too. The German performance sub-brand has relied on knowledge shared by its Formula One team to create one of the most impressive plug-in hybrids in the world. The vehicle may be street legal, but it looks like a race car thanks to an aggressive aero package that includes a giant rear wing. Zenvo's third hypercar, the Aurora, is easily its most powerful yet. It's also not a single vehicle, but two. A duo of variants of the aggressively styled coupe will be available at launch, the Hardcore Agile, which was designed for track domination, and the Eleganter, which is better suited towards long drives. Both versions, which is named for the natural light phenomenon, are powered by a hybrid-assisted, quad-turbocharged V12 that produces 1,250 horses. The Venom F5 is about as hardcore as American-made cars come. Still, the Texas shop somehow saw an opportunity to wring even more from the vehicle. While the standard version of the supercar can rip around a race circuit like few others, the Venom F5 Revolution is even more of a track beast. Koenigsegg was always going to have trouble following up the age era, but the Jesko has done an able job living up to the reputation of its predecessor. The aggressive coupe is powered by a rear mid-mounted twin-turbocharged V8 that produces 1,280 horsepower and 738 foot-pounds of torque. It also has a beautiful shape that allows it to slice through the air and a tall rear spoiler that increases downforce. The Rave Vuelto may be Lamborghini's first series production hybrid, but the Sion was its first limited-run hybrid. Based on the Aventador and sharing technology with the Countach LPI 804, the electrified supercar are one of the Italian marque's boldest releases ever. Sure, it looks cool, but what really sets the Sion apart is its powertrain, which includes a V12 and an electric motor stored in a supercapacitor unit. When you picture an Aston Martin, chances are you think of a slick Grand Tourer with plenty of power. The Valkyrie, though, is something completely different. The beastly hybrid looks more like a Le Mans prototype racer than something James Bond would drive. The car's forward-thinking powertrain more than makes up for this lack of romance. What better way to say goodbye to the now legendary Chiron than with the Super Sport? The model's swan song is road-going version of the Chiron Super Sport 300 Plus that broke the 300 miles per hour barrier back in 2019. That means it delivers mind-numbing performance with all the luxury amenities you could hope for. It's also the rare hypercar that turned out to be even more powerful than its maker expected. Koenigsegg calls the Jesko Absolute a land-based rocket ship, and it's hard to disagree. The variant is a stealthier interpretation of the track-based Jesko. Its carbon fiber body has been redesigned to be even more aerodynamic, which includes replacing the base model's large rear wing with fighter jet-style wings. A top speed has yet to be determined, but the Swedish marque has said the vehicle will be unbelievably fast. Only Pagani could look at the Huayra Roadster and see a car that needed to be reimagined. The Huayra Roadster BC is the track-only version of the company's second hypercar, and as such it's one of the most ridiculous entries on this list. The vehicle has a more aerodynamic body. The modifications produce over 1,100 pounds of downforce, as well as a monocoque made from a carbon titanium material that's lighter than that featured in the standard version of the open-top speed machine. There's a case to be made that the most refined version of the Chiron is the Per Sport. Each variant introduced since the hypercar's 2016 debut has tweaked the formula here and there. The idea behind the Per Sport was to produce a more responsive version of the coupe without sacrificing power. The result is a V12 powered speed machine that's lighter and narrower, making it so much more agile than before. Last year, Koenigsegg unveiled a new model called the CC850 that was based on its very first vehicle, the CC8S. The two cars share a similar design and shape, but the new version has a 5.0-litre twin-turbo V8 derived from the one featured in the Jesko. The two cars share a similar design and shape, but the new version has a 5-litre twin-turbo V8 derived from the one featured in the Jesko. The Solus GT is a video game car come to life. Literally, the track-only hypercar actually made its debut way back in 2017 in Gran Turismo Sport for the PlayStation 4. 5 years later, McLaren announced plans to produce a limited run of the vehicle. Like its virtual counterpart, the real version looks just like a Star Wars-esque starfighter. Japan's first hypercar, the Aspark Owl, might be the most unique-looking entry this list. That's because it's lower to the ground and more stretched out than practically any other high-performance vehicle out there. You're either going to love or hate the vehicle's exaggerated design, and consider us firmly in the first camp. The Owl's design isn't its only standout feature. It's also monstrously powerful thanks to a quad-motor electric powertrain that delivers 1,985 horsepower and 1,475 foot-pounds of torque. The Bolide, which made its public debut at Le Mans earlier this year, is without a doubt the most hardcore Bugatti hypercar yet. The model was designed to be the kind of vehicle setting a new personal record in each time you take it out on the track. A lot of this is due to a thunderously loud W16 that pumps out 1,578 horsepower and 1,180 foot-pounds of torque. Add in a brash and angular design, especially by Bugatti's usual standards, and you have the kind of car that's sure to sell out despite not being street legal. No automaker is more represented in the top 10 of this list than Bugatti. It's easy to see why, of course. The French marque doesn't just build hypercars, it builds luxury hypercars. Of those currently still rolling off the line, the Mistral is the closet thing to a range topper. It's a stunning roadster based on the Chiron that breathes new life into 7-year-old model with its more muscular stance. It's also the brand's final car that will feature its trademark W16. Pagani decide to go all out when saying goodbye to its second hyper, the Huayra. The result is the Codalunga, a restored interpretation of the model that pays tribute to the race cars of the 1960s with its beautiful flowing body. The streamlining of the car's exterior also allows it to cut through the air with more ease than before. Add in an AMG-sourced, twin-turbocharged 6-litre V12 that produces 840 horses, which is 110 more than the standard version of the model, and it's little wonder it's the most expensive hypercar currently out there. And that's the top 50 most expensive cars you can buy in 2023. Please subscribe to our channel and hope to see you again on